Hello, beautiful podcast community. It's your girl, your host, Jocelyn, and I'm so grateful you are here. I am also so grateful to be willing to have hard conversations. In the last episode between you and I shared how grateful I am for my willingness and how willingness has changed my life. One willingness I am especially grateful for is my willingness to have hard conversations. Now, before we dive deeper into this episode, I do want to share that one of my intentions for this year is to cultivate our community. I'd love for us to engage with each other more. So there's a couple new things. One, the Gratitude Hotline. Since my guests and I are practicing gratitude in every episode, I would love for you all to sincerely join us. When you feel inspired to express your gratitude, call the Gratitude Hotline at 424-781-9377, and I will be sharing your expression of gratitude here on the podcast. I think this will be super fun for all of us to practice gratitude as well as be uplifted by each other's gratitude. Two, ratings and reviews. Thank all of you so much who have dropped a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. I appreciate you so much. Moving forward, when you drop a review, I encourage you all to leave your Instagram handle so I can shout you out here on the podcast and we can all get connected with each other. I'd also love to start sharing some of the reviews here on the podcast just because they are so heartwarming. And I'm going to start with the review from Hippie Gal 25. And she wrote, so gentle, so open, so honest. I love the conversations, the guests she brings, and the interesting insight everyone has to share. Jocelyn is a great conversationalist and interviewer. I really think she brings something special out of everyone. Definitely recommend. Hippie Gal 25, thank you so much. I appreciate you. And I really appreciate the time that you took out of your day to give this podcast a rating and a review. Ratings and reviews can be found on the Starting with Gratitude podcast page on Apple Podcasts. Scroll down to the bottom and you'll see the stars and the comment box. It's super simple, super easy, and super impactful. So again, thank you all so much. And I look forward to, again, cultivating community this year with you all. Okay, back to hard conversations. Essentially, if we think about it, hard conversations are honest conversations. So I am grateful for my willingness to confront and acknowledge the truth, to give and receive honesty. I'm pretty sure we have all experienced a relationship fall apart because one or both persons weren't willing to have a hard conversation, weren't willing to confront the truth. We have all experienced the health and well-being of a relationship that we care about be sacrificed due to the lack of communication. And once we come to the awareness of just how important communication is in a relationship, we realize that, wow, we were just one hard conversation away from saving a relationship, from strengthening a relationship, from healing a relationship. In some cases, it's not that one or both persons weren't willing to have a hard conversation or to confront the truth. It's that there wasn't a safe space provided to do so in a healthy and productive way. Safe spaces that essentially prioritize conscious listening are necessary if the intention is to maintain and cultivate a healthy relationship. Because I've experienced conversations that were hard and were full of truth and yet still detrimented the relationship. Growing up, I was the honest child. My face gave away how I was feeling, and my voice didn't hold itself back from telling the truth. I think most of us were like this as young children because we weren't yet programmed by society to hide our true selves. As I got older, telling the truth started to feel wrong. I began to get in trouble for being honest. I began to observe how the adults and the children around me were dishonest or were hiding their honesty. I also grew less confident come middle school. So, with all of this, I began to adopt the programming that being truthful wasn't the quote unquote right way to be. I didn't necessarily become a liar, but I definitely shied away from the truth, not only in vocalizing it, but in feeling it too. One of the biggest ways we hold ourselves back from the truth is in not acknowledging how we truly feel, which is why so many of us avoid having hard conversations because it not only requires us to acknowledge how we truly feel, but also how the other person truly feels. As I've gotten older and wiser, however, I started awakening to the dysfunctions of the culture and society that raised me. I started becoming more and more comfortable with having hard conversations, with expressing and embodying my truth, as well as welcoming and encouraging the truth in others. In large part, this is because I've come to know and understand that the truth is divine. And the truth is necessary for a healthy, whole, soul-fulfilling life. There are no healthy relationships without truth. And therefore, there are no healthy relationships without hard conversations. This, first and foremost, includes our relationship with ourselves. Two good reflectional prompts here would be: in what ways has me avoiding my truth created an unhealthy relationship with myself and therefore with others? And what hard conversations do I need to have with myself so I can begin or continue to heal my relationship with myself? The thing about avoiding the truth is that it is incredibly unproductive. The truth always reveals itself, whether it's tomorrow or 10 years from now, there is no escaping it. And the same goes for avoiding hard conversations, because essentially, as we've been talking about in this whole episode, there is an underlying truth we are avoiding when we are unwilling to have a hard conversation, especially if it's a hard conversation with ourselves or with someone that we care about. You can only avoid a hard conversation so long until the truth you are avoiding from that hard conversation begins to consume your thoughts, your feelings, and your life. Have you ever avoided having a hard conversation with someone you care about? Or have you ever had someone who cares about you avoid having a hard conversation with you due to the fear of the truth that would arise from that conversation? How did that turn out? And how did it make you feel? This is why I am so grateful I am willing to have hard conversations. This is adulting, but it's also inner child healing. And for some, it's generational healing too. One generational cycle I have the honor of breaking is avoiding the truth. And one way I am breaking that is by, you guessed it, having hard conversations. So much of the trauma, the drama, the separations that generations of my family have experienced could have been avoided and healed with the willingness to have honest, hard conversations held in safe spaces. So, conscious listening, compassion, and understanding have all played vital roles in breaking this cycle as well. To this day, whenever I prompt personal, deep questions to members in my family, I see the discomfort. I see the avoidance. I see their inner child's afraid to express and feel the truth because they think it's wrong. This gifts me more empathy and understanding for myself and my healing, because I am reminded of the environment I was raised in. And let me make it clear that I am blaming or shaming no one. The depths of our avoidances run deep. They are not only familial, but they are societal and cultural too. I must shout out the friends in my life who have not only been willing to have hard conversations with me, but have held safe spaces for us to have them. A lot of my practice and reintroduction to hard conversations that are productive and healthy and healing have been with my friends, and I love them so much. Shout out to me too. One reason why this episode is touching on this topic in the first place is because I had a friend who is truly a sister to me from back home visit me last weekend. We hadn't seen each other in person since pre-pandemic, which is wild. So our quality time was much, much needed. In that quality time, we had a couple hard conversations. And this is one thing that I appreciate and value in our friendship so much, is that we each feel comfortable and safe to be our whole true selves, to show up just as we are, knowing that we won't be judged or criticized for it. This makes our relationship so freeing and so healing. One of the hard conversations that we had was about my dad. Some of you may know I lost my father back in 2011. This is a whole other story, but very few people know the truth about what happened to my dad. It's more so a truth that's not hard for me to give, but is hard for others to receive. I honestly really look forward to the day that I share this part of my story to the masses. But, anyways, the last thing I want to touch on is the hard conversations we avoid having because they are taboo, like talking about death or racism or addiction or suicide or sex or slavery or age or money, etc. These conversations surrounding taboo topics that we avoid having because of their uncomfortable truths are healing conversations that we are missing out on. And let us note that these taboo topics are not wrong to talk about. We've been programmed to believe that they are wrong to talk about. Specifically touching on death, I honestly wish that we were all more comfortable talking about it. Too often, when we lose a loved one, we rarely talk about them because talking about them would mean that we'd have to acknowledge the hard truth, whether it's spoken or unspoken, that they're no longer with us in the flesh. And I've come to believe that we are dishonoring our loved ones by not talking about them. I want to talk about my dad and my best friend and my grandma and all the loved ones that I've lost. I want people to ask me questions about them and how they were as people without feeling weird about it. One way we keep our loved ones alive is by talking about them, is by having hard conversations. And honestly, y'all, we keep ourselves alive by having hard conversations, by acknowledging and expressing and embracing our truths. May we allow them to make us uncomfortable for the sake of honoring life and love and truth. May we allow them to save and strengthen and heal our relationships. May we allow them to bring us back home to our true selves. Whew, that was a good conversation. I am so glad we had it, and I'm so glad that you opened yourself up to receive it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. I pray this episode inspired you in some way, shape, or form. If you enjoyed this episode, please drop a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you'd like to express your own gratitude, call the Gratitude Hotline at 424-781-9377 to be featured in a future episode. And if you feel any of your loved ones need to hear this episode, would benefit from this conversation. Listen to that feeling and share this episode with them. Sending you all so much love. Your girl, your host, Jocelyn.